Hello YouTube! I'm back to discuss another season of Total Drama. This time we have Total Drama Pahkitew Island. It is our third season that debuts an entirely new cast. It's probably considered the worst season by many, but I've never viewed it that way. Let's just set the scene with that for a second. I watched the seasons in order, if I'm watching Pahkitew Island, that is. And it always follows up after All Stars. How do I feel after All Stars? Defeated, tired, annoyed, irritated. So Pahkitew Island comes around. To me, it always is a breath of fresh air. I'm like, okay, we're not gonna get our old cast members ruined. We can just start fresh with these new cast members, see how it goes. And it certainly has its flaws this season, but I've never hated it as much as everybody else seems to. I think it has some fun, but I really did notice a lot of flaws this time around. So without further ado, let's just get right on into discussing the characters of Total Drama Pahkitew Island. First, we of course have to discuss Chris McLean. He is a great indicator of what the season overall is, seeing what stage of madness he's at. This season, even though it was produced at the same time as All Stars, I feel like we really switched up a lot of stuff with Chris between All Stars and Pahkitew Island. And I would say this season, instead of feeling like the host, Chris felt like the main character. And that's my main flaw of the season. Chris is far too involved in everything. He has a hand in far too many of the eliminations. They even give him his own storyline with one of the contestants in this season. And also, he's just annoyed by the contestants this season. Usually he enjoys watching them for entertainment value. This time he enjoys them strictly to watch them suffer. And that's not very fun. Like, yeah, laugh if they get like hit or something or have a wipeout in a challenge, but to actively be wanting your contestants to die, it's too far. And this is, again, showing that this is very much a we've jumped the shark season. Once you accept that Chris is completely different from his Total Drama Island persona, he still has some funny moments here and there. I just think we got far too much of Chris, and I don't want to see him stirring the pot of the season so much. It just reads like, okay, we don't trust this new cast to do anything on their own. That's how it feels, and you should always trust the cast that you've assembled to produce good TV. Even if maybe this isn't my least favorite season, this is my least favorite outing for Chris. But I'd still say I did enjoy him part of the time. For better or for worse, Chris always has a strong presence, and you're gonna remember Chris. On the other hand, we have Chef, and this is his least relevant season by far, I would say. He had maybe like one moment this season where I maybe got a chuckle out of him, but I feel like he hardly even had any lines in most of the episodes. It would have helped to have Chef be more involved. If they were gonna have Chris be so involved, I wish they would have given some of that to Chef too. So it's not just this one character doing everything. They need to be a duo, always. Like they're an iconic duo, and this season just went all in on Chris, all out on Chef, even though Chef was still there. He really wasn't there. Now I'll move on to the contestants, and I will go in elimination order once again. And our first eliminated contestant was Beardo. He does sound effects, and that's Beardo for you. Okay.
Okay.
What else is there to say? The first episode of Pahkitew Island, it's always an adjustment, and I think Beardo leaves a very bad impression. Like, you're just kind of giving knockoff B, but instead of being purely silent, you do sound effects. And the sound effects are very corny. I got no entertainment value out of Beardo at all, and I was glad to see him be the first one eliminated. I hope to never see you again. The second boot was Leonard, the wizard. I got a kick out of Leonard. You might think Leonard feels very over the top, but I think this is one of the most realistic total drama characters they've ever created. It's so stupid, but it's so funny. Force field. I think this is a great 2-episode arc that Leonard has, and it's very entertaining. What can I say? Leonard isn't a character to write home about, and you don't want Leonard to be around all season, but the comedy was working for me with Leonard. I feel like you just gotta know a LARPer to really understand what they did here with Leonard, because it is very accurate. Like, this is just how dramatic some people are. It is no exaggeration. The next boot was Amy. She is one half of the twins. I'll keep them separated, but I will just say Amy was definitely the lesser twin. She's the evil twin, but her team didn't view it that way. This was too over the top. Amy did not make good TV to me at all. She was constantly at like a 15. I think this season overall, it does a lot of strong choices like that to really bring these characters over the top. Sometimes it landed for me, sometimes it didn't. With Amy, it just did not land at all. I think if they toned her down a little bit, it would have worked better, but it just made me less invested in the twins. And I was very relieved to see her leave, because I just didn't want the storyline to drag on. Amy's not a villain who did anything. She was mean, but she had no strategy besides just being entitled and hating her sister. That's all she brought to the table. It didn't really make me like Sammy more. It just made me check out. I will say though, having Amy go out because of her own ego, she snatched up that fruit from Sammy, and Sammy switched up, and even though Sammy was the one who got the most votes, she sent Amy out. That was a good downfall for Amy. I think with a few tweaks, Amy could be a very interesting character, but presented here in this way, no. These characters should annoy the other characters. They should not annoy me. And Amy annoys me, and not the other characters. The next boot was Rodney, and oh my gosh, he reminds me of a lot of people I've come across too. I'm glad Rodney was an early boot. I did not find him very entertaining. I think Rodney served his purpose on the season. I don't think he's a bad character, because it definitely gets some sort of reaction out of me where I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely interesting. Falling in love with one of the girls each episode, and then having to get over the girl he fell in love with in the last episode. It just, like, it's too much. It was too much, but it was okay. I'm not mad about Rodney as a character. He is fine. But Rodney is never somebody I'll like or support. I always want to see him have a downfall. I always want to see him lose. And the next boot was Sammy. Amy came back and she left with Sammy again. But here we got Sammy. Sammy is the good twin to Amy's evil twin. The writers clearly want us to side with Sammy, and we do because she's just being treated so terribly, and that's all we've seen from her. I do think there was some intrigue to Sammy. She does work my nerves a little bit. It's like, girl, just work on your social game a little bit, get your stuff together instead of complaining about Amy the whole time. But luckily, she is paired with Jasmine, and they develop a friendship, and that definitely humanizes Sammy a lot more. I think they did a lot of cheap tricks to try to make me like Sammy, and I don't like that, but I do like Sammy. Like, there is something here with Sammy. But when Amy comes back, it's just like, okay, we're doing this still. I wanted to see Sammy removed from Amy, and I was just ready to get rid of both of them. I don't like just seeing those two stuck together. I think there was wasted potential with Sammy, though. Like, I really would have liked to see Sammy and Jasmine work together for a few more episodes. I would have liked it to be discovered that Sammy was Sammy and not Amy. See how her team deals with that. I would have liked to see a lot more from Sammy. She was just stuck to Amy the whole time, and I think Amy is so uninteresting as a character, and they try so hard to make me like Sammy to spite Amy. It just kind of backfires a little bit, right? Like, they're trying too hard. Sammy's elimination was very anticlimactic, but it was between her and Jasmine, so I was just relieved to have Jasmine stay, even if it was at the expense of Sammy and the storyline that they put so much time into just to drop it here. Whatever. I'm torn on if I'd want this season to have more episodes or not, because I don't think I could stomach more episodes for some of these characters, but I think for storylines like Amy and Sammy's storyline, the season would have benefited from more episodes because they would have been able to put in a bit more nuance. I think the season benefited from being shorter in a lot of ways because they wanted to take these characters so over the top and to have them be more comedic. So of all the shorter total drama seasons, I think this one utilized it the best, I would say, pacing wise. I was able to get invested in a good chunk of these characters in a short amount of time because they were so over the top and you got such strong doses of them. But that also backfires for a lot of characters too. This season was very extreme in all of its choices, and I think Sammy is a character who would benefit from more nuance. So she is one of the characters who I'd say suffers from leaving so early with how it is formatted. Moving on, the next boot was Ella, and I will just say it here and now. Ella is my favorite character on this season. It wasn't always that way, but I'm very much feeling that right now. That's what I got on my pink today. Let me show out for Ella. So Ella steps on the scene. She's immediately serving Disney Princess excellent. She's got her dress. She's got her Snow White bobbin ribbon. Killing it. Amazing character design. So pretty. She floats down with the birds after not getting a parachute. She's just oozing kindness, charisma. What an energy Ella has as a character. She is more than any of the other characters the fish out of water on this season. She doesn't quite fit in, and that's what makes her stand out. She is a pure-hearted character to her core. So she comes on this season, she tells us that she loved Total Drama World Tour with the songs. Me too, girl, me too. And she starts singing her own little song. She says it's not a musical season, but I'm gonna make it a musical season. And you know what, Ella? You do you. She's got the vocals to pull it off. She does. Nobody can take that from her. Ella has the pipes, but Ella just existing and being so kind and friendly rubs people the wrong way. Particularly Sugar is rubbed the wrong way by Ella. And they have a one-sided rivalry where Ella just exudes kindness to Sugar, and she just wants her and Sugar to be such close friends, but Sugar just never gives Ella that energy, even going as far to hate on Ella at every chance she can get. Of course, I took Team Ella, but I think this was the most entertaining storyline of the pre-merge. Ella just doesn't deserve any of the treatment she's getting, and Sugar is just so mean and nasty for no reason. I think Ella would get along with anybody, but I think Sugar is somebody she'd gravitate to. Sugar just is so jealous of everything Ella has and is. Ella is effortlessly herself at every turn. To just be living your life and have all these people talking about you, she knows she's that girl. Like, come on. She doesn't even have to do anything. And she's the drama of Total Drama. Icon. We have to mention that Ella is great at these challenges, especially when they involve an animal, because what is she able to do? She is able to get these animals to love her and instantly makes them not a threat to the team at all. She came in clutch on several occasions. They needed Ella on their side. It was funny watching Ella finding herself in these situations on Total Drama. And then it was also funny when things would work out for her. I think she provided a lot of comedic relief just being placed in these situations as such a fish out of water. At the same time though, I also really did feel bad for her because like she's just a sweet girl. Like I feel like she was the full package. She really felt like a full character. Like maybe a bit one-dimensional, yes, but she was positive in her situation, and I just respect that. But Ella does so good at one of these challenges. She completely negates Scuba Bear with her singing. So what does Chris do? He bans her from singing, says if you sing again, you're kicked off the show. So going into episode 6, we see Ella, who has kind of developed a bit of a crush on Dave, because in this one moment, he saved her, like, her knight in shining armor, her prince. But we know Dave has feelings for Sky. So Ella, she walks up on Dave's little picnic for Sky, and Dave totally shuts her down. And it was so sad because she was so excited. Like, Dave, you are so rude, so nasty. And it's just, wow, poor Ella. Like, she did not deserve that. It's Dave's loss. And he lost big time. Ooh, put a pin in that. Ella has her little moment of sadness, but she collects herself again and gets back to preaching her positivity and spreading such joy and whimsy throughout the show. They come across a little tricky situation, and it's set up to where Ella needs to sing to save the day. This is Dave, who just betrayed her. She had every right to just leave him be because he disrespected her. She has such a kind heart. She still goes out of her way, risks her whole life in the game to save Dave here. And what happens in return? Sugar snitches on her and gets Ella sent out. Tragic. It was so frustrating to see Sugar win out over Ella. Oh, you hate to see it. But let's just talk about it, though. Chris had to add in a whole other rule for Ella. That's impact. Not many people have that impact where the rules of the game have to be changed for you. So Ella, she did her thing. But even though they won the challenge, it's revealed that Ella will be the one going home. What does Ella do? She makes one of the most iconic exits in total drama history. A situation where she was wronged all season at every turn. She still remains positive. She takes over the show in her last minute of airtime, sings a song after she was told not to, and singing is why she's leaving. She sings anyway. She perfectly sums up her experience on the show in this song, this legendary song. Truly iconic. It is up there with the best of the World Tour songs. Fight me. She goes gracefully, saying goodbye to everybody, saying such kind things to them all. She's sad to leave, but she takes it on the chin. Chris and Chef aren't able to stop her. The birds lower her into the cannon. She's not shoved in there. She leaves on her own accord. She leaves in power, in control. She shoots out of that cannon, hitting a high note. She ate that high note up like the singer, Ella, dropped the album. I truly am stuck trying to think of a better exit. It is iconic. Perfect ending to her story. It's sad she got cut short, but she made the most of it. I just don't know a better character. She perfectly concluded her own arc, even though it was cut short. That's iconic. A legendary character. I would kill to see her play again. It would make me so happy. Let's get Ella back. Start the campaign. I will lead the charge. I could talk about her all day, but it is time to move on. I will move on to our last pre-merge boot, and that is Topher. He is a Chris super fan, which I already don't like because Chris had too much involvement in this season. So to have somebody on this show just being a Chris fanboy and being obsessed with the hosting aspect of it all, it's like too much. We need some separation between Chris and the contestants. Topher was very irrelevant. He hardly had any interactions with any character on the cast for most of the show. It was just an occasional cutaway of him casually trying to steal Chris's gig. And it all came to a head in this last episode where he just completely ignores the challenge to steal Chris's phone. He gets a call telling him that he's finally gonna take Chris's spot. It was a prank call from Chris, and Topher gets voted out. I guess it's a fitting end, but it was just like too much Chris involvement. We just had him send out the twins together. Then we had him send Ella out just because he was annoyed by her. And then even though Topher did get voted out, they still had Chris be involved in it. It was just too much Chris at this time, and Topher was just a lot of it. I wish Topher was booted a little earlier. I mean, I just wish this character got scrapped entirely. It just did not work at all, I don't think. I didn't get a laugh out of any of the Topher bits. I actually think the pre-merge was the strongest part of Pahkitew Island, and I think Topher was the weakest part of it. So our merge boot is Dave. He's the germaphobe. He's like scared of everything. That's kind of the vibe. Not as extreme as Cameron. You know, I would describe Dave as a mix between Cameron and Mike without the DID, which is very appreciated. I think that's why I'm able to be kinder on this season, because it is a new cast and there are a lot of flaws with this new cast, but at least there's not anything that's actively offensive in this cast, I would say. But Dave is very much our normal guy. He's the protagonist guy. We're supposed to like relate to him, and he's supposed to kind of be our eye into total drama, I would say. Like, he has a lot of the reactions that they want to think like, oh yeah, the audience would have that reaction too. Like, oh, this is gross. Oh, this is weird. Why are these characters so crazy? But again, it just reads like he's on a moral high horse and he's hypocritical. That's how it comes across with all of these characters. But I think here it was, again, taken to an extreme like a lot of the season. So Dave has a crush on Sky. Sky never really shows any interest, but she kind of acts like she does have some interest, gives him mixed messages, but it's like, okay, Dave, why are you trying so hard? It's pathetic. And then he doesn't even give Ella the time of day when I think they could have worked together as a pair, but Dave just wrote everybody in the cast off besides Sky as total loons. They are, and but so is he, but it's still disrespectful to just immediately jump to that conclusion. Sky and Dave are very much giving low budget Mike and Zoe, who were already giving low budget Gwen and Trent. So it's just like we're just getting lesser and lesser as time goes on. But then I thought it was interesting seeing Dave get the same boot as Mike, but also they weren't the main couple of the season. And then we get to this finale episode, and instead of Sky and Dave getting together, we see the total meltdown of Dave as a character, where he goes full revenge mode. It's like a lot. Dave is a pathetic character. He got the bald treatment this season. He was our chosen bald character. And it's ultimately pretty satisfying to see him suffer in the finale because he just got so nasty for no real reason. Like, this is the behavior you saw all season with Sky. Why are you switching up now? Dave is a very unlikable character. So our next elimination was a double boot. I think I'll start with Max because I feel like there's a little less to talk about with Max. And he is little, so no pun intended, but Max is our stereotypical super villain, but he's not very villainous at all. It kind of plays a lot like Duncan, but taken to an extreme. I think Max was good comedic relief. He has a big ego, and everybody was mocking him at every turn. Like, he was supposed to be eliminated at one point, but instead they just switched some teams up. And seeing him paired with Scarlett worked because he was able to be the face for her deeper villainy. But I think Max worked in this cast, and he was an annoying presence to the other contestants, but he didn't annoy me as much. I did find him to be pretty funny, but I wasn't particularly attached to him. I was entertained by him though. I can give him that. But then we've also got Scarlett, who seems pretty inoffensive at first, and we slowly start to see her showing that she's got a bit of a villain streak in her. She pairs up with Max, they become a duo. She clearly does not like Max at all, and she's just using him. That's pretty entertaining. But I think it's interesting to see this smart girl go really under the radar. And I was thinking she might be the villain of the season, and I guess she was, but I wasn't expecting it like this. We get the big episode that has Scarlett go full mustache twirling supervillain and takes over the island, which is revealed to be all mechanical. We got teases for that, but Scarlett just has a full takeover and runs to kill everybody to get the money. It was very extreme. The show had already jumped the shark by this point, so I was like, okay, sure, we're doing this. There was wasted potential here. Like, I would have loved to see her come into her villainy within the context of the game in the show, but to fully break the game and just try to take over the show, it was just too much. It was too over the top, too extreme. Just didn't work. It took a lot of the steam out of the season, and I felt like they did build up some good momentum. It just kind of makes the whole merge fall flat a little bit in this season. And despite her little takeover, they stop her, and even though she proved that she's like more evil than Max, she still had to exit with Max. So it was a fitting end for her. For what it is, interesting. I found her to be a very interesting character, and then her last episode kind of makes me lose interest a little bit, which I think is very unfortunate. I like to see the game actually play out in total drama. I mean, they can have the game break sometimes, but to have somebody threatening to kill the whole cast just to get the million, it was like, oh, just too much. Far too much. Then in fourth place, we have Jasmine. I always loved Jasmine. She was originally my favorite character, and up until this rewatch, she was always my favorite character. But I think I did view her a little too highly in thinking she was kind of above the season, and oh, she fits into the season. But now she's a strong number 2. Jasmine is this Australian girl. She's so tall, very intimidating to the cast, rightfully so. Like, that's obviously a physical threat. She proves to be pretty helpful in challenges and helping them survive and all that, because she like lives in the Australian wilderness. She's tough. What I find pretty interesting with Jasmine is, even though it's clear that Sky is like the new Zoe, new Gwen, Jasmine kind of takes over as the main girl on this season, and she's unlike any character we've seen before. She's the only one to take sympathy on Sammy, and they become a fun little pair. She develops an unlikely relationship with Sean, who has this, even though Jasmine is normal, all things considered. So it was an odd pairing to see her paired with Zombie Boy, but I think they have a great chemistry. I think they're one of the best total drama couples. We see her really struggle with, how do I have feelings for this boy but still keep my head in the game? I liked seeing this struggle. She tries to throw the challenge in order to save Sean, but he goes full force at her and takes her out when she's trying to throw. That was a big wake-up call for Jasmine, where she's like, nope, no boys. And she writes him off for a few episodes. I really liked seeing this. Like, yeah, if he's gonna cost you the money, screw him. But they do eventually work it out, and they kind of have this agreement where they're like, okay, well, if we both make it to the end, why don't we split the money? And that's after in the merge where like everybody becomes food sick and Sean thinks they're zombies. He thinks they're zombies, but still, he sacrifices himself to save Jasmine. And that was a really sweet moment. But after that, they like make this agreement to split the money when they make the final, so they can both win. Sean never like agrees, but never really shuts it down either. This is an interesting development, but I think it dragged on a little too much for a season that's as short as this. I felt like this went on too long. I would have liked to see something else. I would have liked to see them show more of Jasmine and Sky's dynamic together, or more of Jasmine and Scarlett's dynamic together, because we saw glimpses of both of those, and I thought they were very interesting. But Jasmine just immediately pairs up with Sean again after that hero moment, and that's all she really has going for her. And then she gets eliminated at the final 4 when Sugar sabotages her. I think Jasmine would have been a more compelling winner of this season than Sean, so this was disappointing to see. Like, sure, if they have Sean make it to the end, they can play out this little, oh, but he doesn't want to share the money thing. But Jasmine was the character I was invested in all season, and Sean is the character who benefited from being attached to Jasmine. I would have just scratched that whole, oh, let's split the money drama. Like, it wasn't that good. It was not. Like, it was pointless. It was stupid, and I think that's why I ultimately favored Ella more, because it was just like, this is what we're fighting about. This is not the drama I want to see on Total Drama. But yeah, I was very devastated to see Jasmine lose here. Like, come on. She was so good. She should have won. Jasmine should be a winner. But then she comes back in the finale and she helps Sean. They give her a chance to sabotage Sean to get the money for herself. But she ultimately decides the money's not worth it. She doesn't want to hurt Sean. And then they do split the money. And it's a sweet ending. It was stupid drama. It was so stupid. I liked their first little argument where she didn't want to sacrifice the game for him. But round 2 of it, it was stale. It felt like a rerun. I'm glad they got a happy ending though. I really am. And like I said, I think they're one of the best total drama couples. Then in 3rd place, booted right before the finale, we have Sugar. And Sugar was the antagonist of the season, the main villain, I guess. Well, I guess Scarlet was, but I don't know, it's a confusing thing, the villains this season. But Sugar is our Honey Boo Boo knockoff, and I think that was a very interesting choice. What I said when I was talking about Ella still stands. I think Sugar was very disrespectful for no reason and very hater, but it worked more for her than it did for Amy, because I thought Sugar was very funny, very entertaining. And I think what Amy lacked that Sugar had too was Sugar did have a positivity to her. She was happy to be there. She was happy to be competing, and she was having a lot of fun in this season. Amy was just being a pure hater. Like, I can respect being a hater. Like, you see, I respect Sugar being a hater right now, but you gotta bring something else to the table. And Sugar, she did bring comedy. I wanted Ella to succeed over Sugar. I was upset that Sugar outlasted Ella, but I was still enjoying Sugar, and I think as a lot of the stuff really hit the fan in this merge portion of the season, I feel like Sugar was a grounding force in it all. Like, she even was telling Sky at one point, like, yeah, we're the only 2 normal ones here. And it's like, oh, not really, but okay.
Okay.
But I feel like Sugar really kept the game going, even as we had everything trying to take us out of the game. I feel like she was the one attachment who was very game focused. She was always focused on her next move, who she wanted to take out. She was sabotaging people, like she got Jasmine. I feel like she brought the drama to Total Drama. But then in this final episode, Sugar, we get to the talent portion. What does she do? She performs her country and rap mixture, Crabtree. That's iconic, but we immediately see her getting the boot. She's got her crown and her flowers in the cannon. She shut up. It's poetic justice to see Sugar getting eliminated for singing the same way Ella was. But in Ella's case, it was a positive exit. But in Sugar's case, it was a negative exit. And even though Sugar outlasted Ella, Ella won in the end. Sugar not so much. But I think Sugar was just what the season needed. I think she's a great character. That brings us to the finale. And I think first I'll discuss Sean, because I really don't think I have much to say on Sean. I feel like I already said his relationship with Jasmine is one of the best. His whole thing is he likes fighting zombies. He's very paranoid about the zombie apocalypse coming, and that paranoia is often played on in this season. He sleeps in the tree. He's pretty isolated from everybody, but he finally warms up to Jasmine. It was a nice little arc for him. I think he very much benefited from being attached to Jasmine, who was the more compelling of the two. It was selfish of him to want to take the money, but he did split the money in the end, so good on you. I like his winning ending. It's nice. I don't have much to say on Sean, really. He really doesn't leave much of an impression on me besides his attachment to Jasmine. And that's positive. It is a positive attachment, but I don't think he should have won the season over her. And I just will always feel that way. Last but not least, we have Sky, and Sky was our Gwen, our Zoe. You get the gist. But I think there was a bit more intrigue to Sky. I feel like she was a bit different than them. A lot the same, but there were some differences that made me a bit more intrigued with Sky. But unfortunately, I think Dave really dragged her down a lot. Again, she has a lot of the hypocritical tendencies that we saw in Gwen. You're not morally superior. And then in the finale, we find out that Sky is a cheater. Cheater. Or Dave finds out. It's like, oh. She says, like, she was gonna break up with her boyfriend. Well, you didn't. So why are you even entertaining Dave? I mean, she tried to shut down Dave a lot. She definitely did. And Dave should have taken the hints. But it's like, you should have been a little more firm if you got a guy at home. Definitely, you should have been more firm. But I'm still sympathetic to Sky because of how awful Dave is. Like, gosh, Dave is just too much. But the whole cheater thing definitely ruins my view of Sky a lot. Like, no excuses. You should have dumped that guy. I don't care. But I really did enjoy a lot of Sky's interactions outside of Dave. Like when she got swapped to the team and her and Jasmine had a rapport. Her teaming up with Sugar was very interesting. I liked seeing them work as a duo. I do think she's more of the same, but she serves her purpose. And I probably do prefer her winning ending over Sean's winning ending because I think she's a bit more deserving of the money, and that's just an even bigger screw you to Dave. But honestly, I could enjoy either Sky or Sean winning. So that's nice at least. I'm just glad Dave lost. Like, this really was an interesting finale episode to suddenly turn this one character into just such a villain. Quite interesting, but very fitting. That's all I've got to say on the characters. Overall, I think this season, the first episode, it's a lot to take in. I think Beardo, especially, is just like the cherry on top that makes it too much. But I always warm up to it in episode 2, and I tend to enjoy the pre-merge bit until Ella leaves. This is definitely not my favorite season, but it's not my least favorite either. I do think I would put it above both Revenge of the Island and All Stars. It's not going above any other seasons. I go into this season with low expectations every time. I just expect a good laugh, and I always do get a good laugh out of this season. It provides that. Like, it's definitely jumped the shark. It is too wacky. If I watched this season right after I watched Total Drama Island, I would probably feel very negatively about it, but easing my way into it, I don't know, it works for me. Like, just last week, I was watching Total Drama All-Stars, and this is a nice switch from that. Do a lot of these characters annoy the life out of me? Yes. But I'm really fond of a lot of these characters. And I would say I can't say that about a lot of the Revenge of the Island characters, for example. I think the only one who I feel pretty strongly about from Revenge of the Island is Joe, but there's a few characters here who left a mark on me. If they do a returnee season, I hope this season wouldn't be ignored. I'd like to see a good chunk of these characters get another chance. Now, one of them does get another chance, and that is in the Redonkulous Race, which I will be watching next. I will be covering it. I know there's like, is it total drama? Is it not? I watch it and cover it like a total drama season, please. Like, same difference. So I will be back for that. I made it through the dark ages of total drama, so cheers to that. Until next time, bye.